Today's episode of Mind Your Business was inspired by a message I got from a young lady. Okay, I'm also young, but she's younger than me. I'm going to read a bit of it. She says, I am a medical student cum an investment analyst trainee, and from my little experience in networking, I have sometimes found myself in awkward moments, especially with the opposite sex. So I'm going to share two stories, one involving the opposite sex and then one same-sex actually situation, and how I was in a few awkward situations and how I was able to get out, and then I'll share some tips that you can use when you find yourself in awkward situations during networking.
Hi, I am Alma Duncan, founder of the Fabulous Woman Network. Before 2015, I was that broke girl who was stuck in her own limiting belief of not enoughness. Marianne Williamson's words, "You are a child of God," woke me up. And then I sought help to work on myself. I still invest heavily in my personal development, and so much has changed for me in the most incredible ways. My burning desire is to see an Africa in which women are empowered to thrive and impact people. I am a trainer, coach, author, social entrepreneur, and an event organizer who is passionate about helping others on their own personal development journey so that together we can all thrive as fabulous children of God. Mind Your Business is our weekly podcast which is free on YouTube. Here we share enriching content to help us all thrive as fabulous children of God. And if you prefer to work with me please go to my website amaduncan.com/store to book a discovery call with me.
Welcome back to Mind Your Business. First of all, what even is networking? It's simply connecting with other people, making new acquaintances with no ulterior motive as to, I'm going to need them, or they are potentially this person or that person. You are just connecting with other people because, even God said it is not good for man to be alone. So God created other human beings, right? And so networking is simply about connecting with other people. So story one, I recently had the opportunity to attend this fabulous event. Now, before I went, it had been quite an intense week. I was quite tired in my body, but I really wanted to be there. So I did go. I traveled and I went for this event. And as I was going, I prepped myself thinking, this is going to be one of those events where you get to sit and listen. And I knew the person coming is such a high-powered woman that I was just ready, looking forward to sit at her feet and listen to some wisdom. So that's really what I was going to do. I knew that, of course, I may meet one or two people, and I was prepared to just say hi and network after the event. But my thinking was just go in, listen, sit and listen quietly, find some corner, because my energy was low and all that. Okay, so I get to this place, and I actually happened to be the first person who got there. So I looked for this fancy restaurant, bought myself something nice so I could feel rich, ate some food, and eventually came in. When I entered the event venue, I realized I was actually the only guest. They had set it up nicely, but it wasn't the kind of event where everyone sits and listens. It was the kind of event, a cocktail. You get in and you start networking with people. I was like, oh my God, I don't have the energy for this. That was problem number one in my head. I don't have the energy for this, but I was like, okay, I will deal. And then women start trickling in. All these high-powered women start coming, and most of them know each other already, and like, oh my God, what is this? I don't belong here. These are rich people. What am I doing here? This mental chatter making me feel like I don't belong in this room. I am not enough, and blah, blah, blah. These are rich women. What are you doing here? So it was like tiredness plus this feeling of not enoughness coming back, crashing all over the place. And so I was like, no. Inside within me, I was resisting. Like my mind was resisting. This is not the place for me to be. But I had come all the way, taking a flight to come all the way. Come on, do something. So there was this conflict going on in my head. How did I deal? this is an event one. I'm going to share a second story where I found myself in another awkward situation. So I was on a trip in this lovely hotel. I'd woken up, I entered the restaurant, and then I see this gentleman. He smiled, I smiled back, thinking, oh, I probably know him or something or whatever. He's just being nice, so I'm also just being nice. And then I sat down, I was eating, and then this gentleman sitting opposite from across, on another table keeps looking at me and smiling, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I know him and I've forgotten his name. Shame on you, Amma. Try to remember his name. So I was feeling all guilty because I was thinking I don't remember him. Eventually he motions that, can he sit on my table? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then he comes, and it turns out, no, it's not like he knows me. He's just admiring me. You can call it a crush. He couldn't get over how beautiful I was. Oh, bless him. Well, we ended up having a conversation, and I found out actually he's a trainer just like me. He works for giant organizations, the kind of organizations I desire to work for. But still in the conversation, this gentleman is, making it very clear to me that he has a crush on me. And I needed a way to diffuse this, because I'm thinking, this person is nice to have in my network, but not as someone who has a crush on me. I mean, if he has a crush and I don't know, that is different from I know. So I needed to find a way to diffuse it. And I said something, I think I made a joke of, how hopefully by the next time we meet, he would have gotten over the crush and then we can actually do business. And I said it in a funny way or something. He ended up laughing, and then end of story. Eventually I haven't even met him again. But the issue of sometimes having to be in awkward situations is real. And yes, sometimes it involves same sex, sometimes it involves the opposite sex, like in Beatrice's situation, which was the opposite. In my situation, the second with the gentleman, it was also the opposite sex. How do we deal? How do we deal so that we can end up, achieving whatever goal we have, or at least achieving friendships without worrying about the awkwardness, or even if it doesn't go beyond hello, hi to friendship? How do we deal? So I'm going to share 5 tips on how to network in awkward situations. Now, using the example of me going to the place where I had all these high-powered women and my energy was already low and I was feeling like I didn't belong, using that example, the first thing I'll say and the first thing I will do, and I did, is to breathe. Because you know what? Everyone there is also human, just like you, just like me. So breathe. Breathe and then call on your confident self or your alter ego. 2 of the names for my alter ego is Lady Lioness. So I call myself Lady Lioness. Okay, I'm not going to say the rest. But on that day, I needed to call the Lady Lioness in me. I wasn't feeling like her, but I needed to call on her and ask myself, what would a Lady Lioness do in such a situation? Not what will Amma Duncan do, because Amma Duncan at that moment wasn't feeling like it. But there is a Lady Lioness in Amma Duncan who can come out in this moment and help. And I called on her. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're feeling like, I don't belong here, or I'm not good enough for this, or everyone is big and I'm just this tiny person, start by breathing and call on your alter ego, the stronger one, the more confident one within you. Call on him or her to come and help. So that's what I did. That's number 1. Number 2, if this event is, so for instance, this event that I attended, it was in the company of others. One of the things that helped me recover and get my energy back was when I found a few people eventually whom I had already met, I knew, and I found some coach friends, a few other friends, and that helped me get re-energized, because it was nice talking to them. You know how when you meet someone you really enjoy talking to, it brightens you up. So I was like, oh, hi, and then energy started coming. So if you are in a situation where there are a few other people that you already know, please go to them and tap into their energy. That helps. This is what I did on that particular day. Now imagine that actually there is no one there at all that you know. Then you may want to, because your goal is to get to meet other people, right? So you may want to look around and see, who is the extrovert? Who is the person that is talking to everyone and is nice and warm? Master the courage to introduce yourself to this person, and then just tag along as they are networking with other people. It's a trick that works. Now, please, let me just say this. The Holy Spirit reminded me that I should put this in here, that this is if you want to network. Now, if you really, really don't feel like it and you don't want to, it is not compulsory. I mean, on that day, I could have just gotten back to the airport, gotten back on the flight, and then come back home. But I wanted to network. I wanted to be there. I came all the way. I wanted to be there. So, and this is why I put myself through that, as in getting my energy back, calling on the Lady Lioness in me. You get what I mean? Okay, so I've shared 2 tips. First of all, call on the confident person in you to come out and help, and then find the company of others, who you already know or who have the energy, and tap into their energy. And I will also say this, actually, even before you go for a networking event, if you know you are the shy type, you may actually even want to go with a friend. So go with someone you know already, but please be careful not to spend all of the time with this someone you know already. Try to, after you've gotten the confidence, because this person is around, you can always go back to them, try and mingle with other people, even if it means going along with your friend. It helps. I have a friend, I call her Little Miss. Sometimes when I have to go for events and I'm like, oh God, I don't know anyone. In fact, for this particular event that I went, I nearly called on her. I was like, I do this to her. It's okay. Let me leave her alone. So there's someone that I would usually call to ask to tag along. If you have such a person, go with them. It helps, okay? Another tip is that sometimes there's so much pressure to have conversations when we meet someone for the first time, and it shouldn't really be. So there's something I would even tell, I ever told someone who was going on a first date and was so worried that when we go, what will we talk about? I really don't understand why shy people on first dates will go for dinner. For me, I would say go for an activity, something that will mean that both of you are enjoying something and not having to by force talk to each other. So for instance, you can go watch a movie, or you go to a place with games and stuff so that you can go play, because you are just getting to know each other, so you can make small talk and then also do the activity. So in the same vein, if you find yourself in an awkward situation where you have to you are with someone and you have to make small talk, and the small talking is not small talking, you can both focus your attention on something that's happening. For instance, if it's a place where there's a movie showing, or there's a band playing, you can both bring your attention to the music and enjoy it and relax, breathe. I mean, this is not Third World War. Just breathe and relax and let things flow naturally. So my third point is relax and enjoy the background together. Don't force yourself to have to make a conversation. It is hard, especially when you don't have the energy for it, or you're feeling awkward or something. Just relax. It is only networking. You're just trying to meet someone else. You're just trying to know about them. There's no pressure. You've got all your life or all these other encounters you'll have with them to get to know them. So just relax. So that's tip number 4, right? Hopefully. No, that's tip number 3. Now, tip number 4, be genuinely curious about the other person. So this first event that I'm talking about that I went to, and there were all these women, another thing that helped me was that I actually I love learning about women and their successes and their stories and all that. So I remember, for instance, one lady that I met, I thought she was so beautiful. She had such a beautiful dark skin and her face was so smooth. And I couldn't help but compliment her skin. And I made a joke of, oh, you should teach me your skincare routine. Oh, that was bingo. This woman kept going on and on, telling me some of the things she does, and I just enjoyed listening. And I was just genuinely curious to know, and I learned something. One thing I've learned is some people enjoy talking about themselves. So if it's a matter of you're feeling like, oh, I don't know anything to say, you can ask a genuine, open-ended question without, being too intrusive. Now, that said, sometimes you don't really know what could be intrusive or not. But a question like, are you divorced? Are you married? Sometimes those questions are sensitive. But you can start with a compliment. So for instance, in the case of this woman's skin, it was a compliment. I was admiring her skin and then asking her for tips on how she's able to get such a beautiful black skin. Oh my God, have I mentioned how beautiful black is? Anyway, so that is the next tip. Be genuinely interested and curious about the other person and ask them. Okay, ask them. Then the last question, and this has to do with, or my last tip, this has to do with dealing with the opposite sex and where you feel that they may be trying to take advantage of you, or you may not be safe, or they are asking for too much. Please go with your intuition. Actually, I am a firm believer in praying even before going for networking. And my prayer is not like, oh, I have to go into a closet. I'm just sitting, walking or whatever, and I'm speaking to God. I'm sure most of you do that. So just ask God for direction and listen. Sometimes you can feel it in your gut. My spiritual mentor says, you would usually say, something says I should. That something is the Holy Spirit. And that's what I also believe. So that feeling that this place I am not safe, or this person is not safe, or this person is asking for too much, that is usually a sign from God or whoever you believe as your spiritual highest person is speaking to you. So listen. So if, for instance, this person is asking you to do things that you're not happy to, you met someone and they're asking for your photos and they're asking for certain personal things and you don't feel comfortable. If you're an assertive person, you can just let them know you don't feel comfortable doing that and you won't do it. But if you're not assertive, I won't force you. You can ghost them, as some people have been doing. Although I wouldn't encourage ghosting, but sometimes if that's the best you can do, because you want to be safe. So listen to your intuition and take the necessary actions. Listen to your intuition. The answers are always within us if we just go quiet and listen. The answers will be right there, and then we can take action. Okay, so to recap the 5 tips of what to do when networking gets awkward for you, here they are. First, breathe and call on your confident self or your or your alter ego. Secondly, when you're in the company of others, find a familiar person if possible, or even go with someone you're familiar with if possible. Number 3, relax and enjoy the background together. There's no pressure. Number 4, be genuinely curious about the other person when networking. And then number 5, listen to your intuition and take the necessary action. So these are 5 tips for you if you find yourself in a situation when you are networking and you feel awkward. Using any of the examples, you are in the midst of regular human beings, but you feel you don't belong there, or you're tired, or it's the opposite sex and you feel awkward. So I hope these help. Now, networking is a broad topic about connecting with people. There are ways to, that I would recommend based on experience and based on reading books and based on talking to many different people. I have actually written a cutie book. Do you see it? I've written a cutie book on networking, and I also have a program on it called Networking Masterclass with Amma Duncan. Now, this program is usually 400 cedis, which is a little under $40. But for the rest of September, up to 30th September, you can get this program for 100 Ghana cedis, which is a little under $10 only. and you get to take this 2-hour masterclass in your own time, anywhere you are, as long as you have internet, and you learn from the stories and the explanations and examples that I give, so that it can help you to deepen your relationships or to build and sustain meaningful relationships with other people. Remember, networking is not because, oh, I'm going to need them, or I need this or that. It is just connecting with people. You never know where the relationship will lead to, or even if there will be any relationship. You're just open. And these are some of the things I teach, and the different skills, strategies, and tools that you can use to meaningfully network. So if this is something that interests you, click on the link in the caption and then take this program. Remember, the price goes back to full. So now it's like 75% off. Once it goes back to the full price, that is the amount you have to pay for it. I hope this has been of value to you. I look forward to meeting you another time for a wonderful conversation on Mind Your Business. Ta, toodles, bye.
Mind Your Business is one of our free resources available on YouTube. And if you prefer to work with me one-on-one as your coach, as a consultant, or as a trainer, it starts with a discovery call. Head to amaduncan.com/store to book a discovery call with me.